Hmm. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. I am your shamanic griot, your Sensei Al Bob, and I'm here to tell you stories to wake you up, to open the door, to put you on the path as a Padawan, so you can live a conscious life. A conscious life. Well, I welcome you aboard the second time this morning because I tried and I don't know whether I succeeded, but I started a show off and I talked for anywhere between 10 minutes and an hour. And who knows how long it was because time does not exist. Go check out with our string friends, our string theory friends, right? Now I see the time is, and there's two of you there, and already a one thumbs up. Has anyone come along from the show I just did and can tell me whether it went up there or not? And if you do live chat, I couldn't see anything, but I now have my umbrella over me. So because the sun, when I started out, the thermometer said it was 91 degrees, but yes, the sun was hitting the thermometer. So, but my other thermometer in the shade down below, it said it was 82. So yesterday it was rainy, snowy, sleety, and in 38 land, right? And it got warmer, warmer, warmer at night. And when I last looked at the thermometer outside, it was 50 degrees at around midnight. So we are living in interesting times, but not unlike any other times, because in the tales of his story, there have been, New York City once had a winter that it snowed and it snowed and it snowed and it snowed and it snowed, and then went down to a place where their thermometers, it went below 20 below zero, and they didn't have a little benchmark, and then the alcohol in their thermometers froze, and close to 120,000 people in New York City froze to death, and 20,000 froze to death on the first day when people were coming and going to work, and they had elevated trains, right? They didn't have subways; they had elevated trains. All the subways that are the F and the A and the RIT and all the 1, 2 up to 10, all the different trains that are now underground. This is why they put it underground. All those trains went, they went up Second Avenue, went up First Avenue, went up Broadway, went up 8th Avenue, 9th Avenue, all those trains. That's why they're the numbers. Those numbers are the numbers of the avenues the trains used to go up. The number 9 train, the number 7 train, number 8 train, number 2 train, 1 train, all those. Anyway, that first day it got really cold and snowed like a foot in less than 3 hours. When it started really snowing hard around noon, people said, "Well, maybe we should let the workers go." But the owners of the especially the garment factory, said, "No, no, no, no. They have to work until 8 o'clock. We're not paying. I'm not paying these people to go home." And so they did. But by that time, the temperature, and they had no heat in these places, and people were starting to suffer hypothermia in the factories, right? And so, that's when the owners said, "Okay, get them out of here." So, and so they walked out, and there were people would walk out and, not get 10 feet out the door onto the side when they could, like going through a foot of snow, and bango, fall over dead. And that first day, 20,000 people died. First day. And this is like in the 1880 ones or twos, or I don't really know exactly, but it was after the Civil War, once everything was super industrialized. And now we are, and that's when the Gilded Age started, and that's where the difference in wealth was. Because back in the day, you'd work in a shop, and the owner, the master, he made X, and you made minus X, but not he made $50 a day, you made 50 cents a day. Not a big deal. I mean, a lot of money, but not that. Maybe $5 the master had, and you made 5 cents. So anyway, and now it's starting to cloud up. So who knows what's going to happen? And the temperature, once the sun went behind that cloud, it's probably now 70 degrees, and it's getting nippier. So that's what we have in state for us. That thing that happened in Texas, just the beginning. There's going to be 3 more. Texas is going to feel that at least 4 or 5 times before May or June. And we may have winter until May or June. But there will be places, one place over here is like 8 degrees and snowing. Over here, it's going to be 80 degrees and raining and have floods, right? So I'm up on top of a mountain. I spent many years making sure everything has good drainage. So we had about 2 inches of rain, between the time I got home yesterday and which was about 4 o'clock. It was just real heavy. If you saw the show yesterday, I said, this is like such, it's not quite raining, but it's heavy, heavy mist, right? And and it was really great. As I drove the 40 miles up and through the mountains, right where I was, 100 yards behind me and 100 yards in front of me, it wasn't foggy. But the 100 yards in front of me, I could just barely see the guy's lights. And then about 20 feet in front of that, there was nothing. And then we would go up and down. If we went down, the fog was above. When we went up, but the fog wasn't ever around me, 100 yards in front of me and 100 yards behind me. And then I was driving up and down and going, staying a good 100 yards from that next car. I didn't get on that guy's bumper, right? And so I'm driving along, and I have my lights on, and and I'm constantly looking in the back and looking in the front, looking in the back, and I see these bright lights in the fog 100 yards behind me, and they're coming really fast, and they get really bright, and then they're really bright, and I push on my blinker, blink, 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 and the guy is in like an Audi or a Lexus or something. He's going 60 miles an hour up and down, thinking it's fun, and nearly crashes into me. But since I pushed the button when he was 70 yards from me, he saw me definitely, and kind of skidded sideways by me because he jammed on his brakes, and then he turned and he, instead of smashing into me, he went sideways by me. And then he, now that was a miracle. He didn't fly off the highway because we hit a curb, but he hit it just right where it straightened him out. And he takes his foot off the brake and hits the gas. He must have thought that was loads of fun. And he passes the guys in front of him, in the fog bank, going up a hill across a double yellow line. This guy was nuts. So what did I do? I took my foot off the gas and went from about 40 miles an hour, which was good enough for me, down to like 20 miles an hour, and kind of was waiting for that next spot I can come over, because I swore there was going to be a massive pile-up crash, And so I slowed way down, and my lights were still blinking, and the guy, again, came zooming by me, And if there had been a crash up in front, this guy would have plowed straight in it and called a severe complication. But that's when I kind of pulled off the road. I didn't see any explosion. I didn't see any fire, and so I basically, and there was no one behind me. So I, pulled out onto the road and went my, first 10 miles an hour, went about a quarter mile. Then, another, I got up to about 35, and I'm going along, and I come up to where these guys are, and they're stopped. And so I stop a good 100 yards behind them, and I, again, kind of roll to where I can get off the road, because some moron who's coming up, I don't want to be dead-ended into. So I wait, and then they start going. And they start going at a very, 20, 30 miles an hour speed. So, okay, good. I can safely go. So I get behind them, and what I see is two cars off the side of the road, and they're not on fire, and it's just they skidded off, and their tires got blown out by hitting something in the mud, right? So they're like, that Lexus guy is like up, and he's out, and he's kicking the tires, and he's cursing, and there's another person who's not quite as insane as that, but they're kind of in the mud. Their tires are still intact, and if they could get out, they could drive. And they're spinning their wheels, and good luck with that, And they're just digging the back of their car deeper and deeper into the mud. And I kind of pass them and go, oh, okay. And I'm behind. And as we go down, and what I see has happened is there is a big guy towing, half of a double wide, and the pickup trucks, with their blinking lights, and they're doing 20 miles an hour. They shouldn't even be on the road. So, I'm only a few miles from my house, so I just, start praying and go there. And that is, I seeing everything in metaphors, and all of this is metaphors. And I was talking about, eating a bow round. I gave this story about my last sojourn, where I died in a plate of spaghetti. Right? I was working for Tespert Boyer, and this was a tough case with millions to him and a nice bonus to me. And the contract itself was probably billions of dollars. And no one got these people to sign the paper, and I was negotiating it. And I almost got them there, so we were in a pre-celebration, right? And that's where I died, in the plate of spaghetti. And he's desperate, so he's got another week and a half, so he thinks he takes me to the hospital. And I wake up being rolled in the gurney, and they're going to chop my legs up, crack my chest, give me a quadruple bypass, and send me on my way. And he's going to pay for it, because he thinks by doing that, the doctor, oh yeah, he can do the negotiations within the week, which is within his time period. And I wake up on the gurney, being rolled through the doors of the in-between, and that's where we live, in the in-between, between the operating room and the hallway. I come from the ICU, rolled down the hallway, and I went into this place where they make sure everything is ready to go into the operating room. And I'm on an IV where it's supposed to be knocking me up, but I pop right up. Wait, what's going on here? And they're like, I'm really loud, I'm really projecting I'm taking my authority, and they're freaking the frack out. And they go, wait, you shouldn't be awake. You're about to be operated on. You can't be awake. You're on a drip of fentanyl. You should be gone. I said, no, I'm here because you're about to do something that I have not agreed to. And I don't give them the 411 of the shamanic reasons why I'm awake, and that it's a miracle. And the canary in the coal mine went on about how it was a miracle that when he cut his hair, his white hair, and shaved it all off and turned it into black, it came out blue, and that he was still alive from that. That's this is a miracle, that I wake up on the gurney being rolled into the operating room on an IV of fentanyl, right? And I said, I had signed nothing. If you even touch me, you're going to jail. I'm going to sue everyone. I'm going to own this hospital. That guy up there, you see him advertised. He is like Perry Mason. I will have him ream every one of you and your wives and your significant others and your grandma and your mother and your dog and your children. You will be on the street, disgraced. Your name will be mud, and won't even be mud. It'll be worse than mud, whatever that is, bunghole. And that was enough for them to say, okay. We'll roll you back in the IC. And I want to see that guy. Bring him in. Put a mask on and say, So they did. And I said, listen, buddy, you really want me to finish this up? This ain't the way. You're going to kill me. I would never be able. This is what I need. You need to go to the court, go to the judge, tell him that your number one boy, me, is on death's door, but I will be fine in 2 weeks. Get a month's, stay, or as long as you can get, and then take me down to your Palacia down in the Keys and go get me. I need a colonic. I need a person who will give me a colonic and a massage every day, if not twice a day. I need a nutritionist. That's Vedic nutritionist. I need an herbalist. I need an endocrinologist. I need. I gave him a list of what I needed, and so he did. Next day I got dressed. They put me in a wheelchair. They put me in his chauffeur-driven limousine. We went from Palm Springs or Palm Beach or Palm wherever that is, and went down to the Keys. And he had those people waiting. And I interviewed them all. They were all just what I needed. And I said, okay, where do you guys live? And they said, well, we're all like from Miami. And I said, well, instead of you doing that, why don't you stay here for the first week? It's a big house. You can all have your own room, your own jacuzzi, your own. And, we have a chef here. We have a staff here. And we'll pay you double. And the guy I'm working for, my client, he's like down with whatever I'm saying. Right? And so first thing, they roll me to the colonic lady has taken a room and set up her equipment and put me on the massage table. And first gives me a really good massage. She goes, I said, first give me a massage. Cranial sacral, right? Shiatsu, acupuncture, And so do this, and this first. And so, oh, you're a practitioner. I said, oh boy, am I ever. So I said, do that first. Then give me a colonic, right? First, I want an enema, and I, go get the herbalist to make this solution. And she did. I should have her make like 20 gallons of that. And first I got an enema, and then that came out. And then she used the next solution I had given the recipe for as her water for the colonic. And, it took stuff like the birthday cake from when I was 2 years old, And she said, that stuff's amazing. I said, yeah, keep the formula, use it. It'll be good for you. And so that, and then I met the shamanic healer / herbalist, and she muscle tested me and figured out what things I needed and what forms and how she was going to work with the nutritionist. And so that we started the rebuilding. I was like the 10 million, well, it's more like the $100,000 man. We can rebuild them with the technology. Of course, the technology is like a million years old, but we don't use it because it doesn't make money. This isn't, this is all about putting my body back in homeostasis, balance. What our medicine is about cash. It's a business plan of dis-ease. Latin word for discombobulation. Ease, meaning being in balance. So they put me back, took me out of disease, and put me in homeostasis within a week. By that time, I was in pretty good shape. That time, I was walking on the beach. That time, I was actually swimming in the ocean. At that time, I was still getting, colonic, massage, all of those things every day, if not 3 or 4 times a day. But my diet had changed. I had lost, in the first week, I lost 20 pounds. I mean, she took easily that out of my colon, right? And, for the next 2 weeks, she kept taking that out of my colon, right? And so I got a new colon, right? And I didn't need a colonoscopy. All I needed was first an enema, and then a colonic, and then a massage. And then most days I started with a massage, then had the colonic, and then I had another massage, and then more juice put in me, and then a colonic, and then another massage, and then I'd move on to exercise, right? Physical therapist, I rebuilt my legs, Now I have diabetes. I have neuropathy. I have diabetic everything. I have, charcoal legs, So these things couldn't be reversed. But my homeostasis could, which by keeping in balance allows my body still to work, even though it died. As Magic Max would say, oh well, all dead, you're kind of dead. So that is what we're looking to do. I, as the shamanic griot, I tell you a story that opens the door. These stories open the door for you to see another side. I invite you to come to my griot publishing. Go onto the Google and hit griot publishing, spelled Gree, GRIOTTE publishing, right? And the other thing that Google and whoever else is the gods of the internet don't seem to like is xratted.blogspot.com, and that's kind of the blogspot address. But the Griot Publishing will also get you there if you go through Google, right? And who knows how long that'll last. So here's a little. I've been looking at my nettle tea leaves because I've been, the thing that stinging nettles, bloodroot, golden seal, echinacea, these are great herbs. And, I live in the middle of the deep green where they grow around me with tons of other herbs. I can just go out there and pick them. Right? And there are a number of old grandmas who are much, I don't consider myself an herbologist or a practitioner. I don't practice. I'm a storyteller. And everything I tell you, don't believe a word I say. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al-Bob. I am your Sensei Al-Bob. I am your shamanic griot, right? And you can go to my Gmail, which is thedudeawake42@gmail. And you can leave me a little, hey, how you doing? Here's my phone number. Give me a call. I'd love to talk to you. Or if you're too shy to talk and just want to send me emails to talk about anything, that's great. Or you can go to PayPal. My friend Fish informed me that you go to PayPal first, and then it'll ask what Gmail account you want to put this cash in. And you put thedudeawake42@gmail. Now, I've been telling everyone, thank you, hey, I got this PayPal, why don't you use it? I appreciate it. And I do. And a lot of you have. Even when I'm telling you the wrong way to do it, you still figured it out and, went to PayPal and then put my Gmail, thedudeawake42@gmail in, and you send me money. Now, it's a donation. You donate. It's not, I'm not charging anything. I'm not doing anything. It's a gesture of your love and appreciation, right? And I appreciate it. And many people have, and all those who have, I appreciate it. And it's in great divergent sums because some have more than others. And people have just sent me $1, and I appreciate that because I know that's kind of like, okay, if you can only have that. And that $1 may be, the only dollar you have. And that means you're giving everything you have to help Dreamy Dreamland to continue. And I appreciate that. And others give way more because they have way more. So that's I appreciate that too. And over the months that I've started doing this, it has been amazingly well placed in that it's always just, I needed a few dollars to have heat, and I had heat, right? Because you guys gave it. And I appreciate it. And I would say, again, so every time I boil up some nettles tea leaves, because that's all I have, and I'm kind of can't walk into the woods is still icky. I'm not going to really be able to go. I mean, I will go into it in about a few weeks or maybe a month from now because that's a good time to get X, Y, and Z at that time. But until it's the right time, I'm not going in there because it's icky. So, I have tea bags of nettles. It doesn't say stinging nettles. It says nettles. Now, that's okay. It's a good thing. But it isn't as astringent or as powerful as the root of stinging needles, right? So you want stinging nettles, right? And really, you should go find yourself, like I did. I was brought upon by my sensei, my teacher, the old crone in Ireland in 69, 70, and she was the first who really gave me old school teaching, right? And she thought I was going to be her adept, but when I drank that third pot of tea and was trying to get the animals into her combi to go to the pub to have a drink, because the horse and the cow and the chickens and the pigs and the goats were all talking to me. Let's go to the pub. Let's go to the pub. And I said, okay. And the horse was going, I don't know. So everybody left. Why did everybody leave? I was just getting into the story of the old crone, something that you seem to love so much. Anyway, long story short, it took a bit. I mean, I got the chickens in, I got the pigs in, I got the goats in. The cow was like, he wanted, but he was too big. He was like, and he wouldn't go without his girlfriend, the other cow, and so they were just going to stay home and eat everyone's food, and the horse said, no, everyone out. With the old girl won't like this. She won't like it. Oh, we don't care. And so the pigs were saying, we don't care. And so I was in the midst of like trying to push the horse in there, and he was only. I said, well, you've got to go as voice of reason. And he was like halfway between voice of reason and no, we can't go. And that's when the crone showed up, because she had gone away 2 days since. This is the third day, and she was off to be the midwife. She was the midwife of those hills, and she said, "Oh, this should only take me no more than 10 hours, maybe less." And she was gone almost 3 days. And I had done everything she had assigned me. I had chopped all the wood. I had gathered all the herbs. I had, made the essential poultices for the ingredients to make tinctures. I had done my homework in the library, and I started reading books that I wasn't assigned, and that's what kind of made me think of. And I could drink all of the 2 pots I wanted. I could drink the first pot, which would make me work. I could just be a wood cutting machine. Second pot would, have me read the herbal books and the outlines. I had a notebook that she would fill up with things for me to do and things to study. And if I drank the second tea, my brain became really sharp. It's way better than Advil. This stuff was like really, that movie where the guy takes, he's like down and out writer, and he's, about to commit suicide. He meets a high school friend who was a real loser, and he goes, hey, you should try this. Takes it and makes him like, wow. And he finishes his novel, sends it off to his editor, and the lady says, this is the best thing I've ever read. Can you write more of this? Oh, yeah. But then he runs out of those little pills. Well, the second pot was just an herb, of teas out in the woods. You don't run out of that. And I'm surrounded by that. But the third pot on the stove, I never got to drink. And she said, don't drink this tea. This is not for you. This is like and she actually said that, this is like the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And I said, okay, I won't drink that. Well, after her not being there 3 days, and after me doing everything, and I got to a place where I was just sitting on the bench, kind of meditating, and I should have just stayed there meditating. That's what a good adept, Padawan / apprentice. That's what a good apprentice, because between Padawan and adept is apprentice. That's what a good apprentice would have done, following the orders of his master. Anyway, I didn't. I said, I'm going to try that tea. And I had that. I filled my mug up with that, and I was sitting out on the porch, and I was, before you take anything, food or substance, to truly get the most out of it, you should smell it. You could use all of your senses before you put it in your mouth, right? Most people just, they don't even taste it. And that's what fast food is. It's just, dead carbohydrates, to give you. It's like how the English gave the Irish potatoes, but the Irish learned how to make potatoes into a very nutritious food and a very yummy food. And that's why the English basically it was biological warfare. There was this guy in England who had many estates in Ireland, and that group wanted, the Irish are great. They're great slaves without having to be. They're like cogs in a machine. They fit well into our newly burgeoning industrial thing. But we have a lot of poor people that we have to give those jobs to. So the Irish, procreate so fast that we have to knock them down a little bit. So they realized they had a guy out there who was all about plants, and he realized there was a fungus that attacked the plants, but there were other plants in the fields that would keep the fungus from really attacking the potatoes. So he took that fungus and he took those other plants, and through just clipping them, right, he genetically engineered a plant that would attack the potatoes of a certain strain, and kill them outright, right? And so, and they would just, it was like a virus. It would like go all over the land, but it wouldn't attack any other vegetables. No, it wouldn't go after the broccoli or the carrots or the spinach or anything else. And the certain type of potatoes, which are now known as Idaho, that the English liked. And so they put it out there, and that's what started the potato blight, which caused the Irish famine, which moved all the Irish into America, which England kind of still owned. And they wanted them there as the new workforce because they understood that they themselves who started slavery had stopped slavery in England. And so they knew at some point, sooner or later, slavery, ownership of human beings as like property, where they were only, a third or 2/3 of a human being. So white people could look at them and, treat them as anyway because they're not human. They're only 2/3 human, even though they're really smart and really making me a lot of money. Well, that's why they brought the Irish to America, because instead of being slaves, they were cogs in a machine, right? So anyway, there I was on the thing, thinking about, and that's all the animals came around and said, the cow was saying, I don't know, and the horse says, don't drink that. The old crone said, don't drink. It's that story that she tells about the tree of, don't drink it, don't drink it, don't drink it, don't drink it. And all the chickens and all the goats and especially the pigs, drink it, drink it, drink it, drink it. And, I've never heard the animals talk before. I haven't even drank this stuff. I've just smelled it. And I can hear their soul speak. I hear them talking to me in my head, So I go, what the heck? It's just tea. Tastes really good. And I have the pop there, and I have that. And then I go in, and I get what this stuff, what's it called? Ambrosia, right? And that is like the dessert form of, what's that stuff the French really like to eat? It's a hallucinogen. Anyway, it really puts you in a state of like nothing's wrong, everything's great, you're the best, that's ambrosia, right? And so, and there's a whole big, and she would just give me a little dollop on top of her sponge cake or on top of all the other goodies. It was like a topping. I ate the whole friggin' thing. Just, and I was in another state of reality. And that's when the pigs were going, let's all get in the convy. Let's go to the pub. Let's drink alcohol. And I was trying to stuff the animals in the convy when she showed up, and she had she had a convy, she had a Jeep, she had her Jaguar XKE 12-cylinder, super duper screaming fire engine red. And she had a really nice Morris Minor, one of their top end cars. And she had an old Rolls, old, like 40s Rolls. That was like really, it's like a rolling living room. right? And we used to take road trips in that. We could sleep in it, and it had tables and little, things in the trunk you could take out, and it was like a kitchen. And we would take road trips in her old Rolls. So it was really a great car. Anyway, I'm trying to get them all in the Convy, and she shows up in her Jeep, and she goes, "You drank the tea, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, Sensei, I drank the tea." And she goes, "Well, that's okay. What do you think?" And then she instead of rah, 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 she said, "You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't, break anything. The convey's still in one piece. So let's get the animals back in their bunks and let's cook dinner." So I'm feeling extraordinarily guilty, and she looks around. "Oh, look, you cut all of the wood. Well, that's good. Okay, so you didn't have that to do. Oh, you made all of the poultices and prepared to make extracts, and that's really good. And you've done all that, and you've done all your homework. That's all good. I mean, how long did that take you?" I said, "Oh, by the middle of the second day, I was all done, just sitting around waiting for you to come back." It's okay. That's cool. You got a little bored. And I said, she goes, "Did you meditate?" "Oh, yes, I meditated." "Did you go into state?" "Oh, yes, I went into state. The first state, not a problem." Goes, "Yeah, I noticed. I was watching." And she said, "And how about earlier today?" And I said, "Well, I went out in the garden. I worked on the garden. And I went out into my shop where I was building her. Um, she had an old windjammer, wind turbine that they made, because in the United States, this company Windjammer, go Google them. Windjammer was a wind turbine for electricity, and between the 1880s and 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, more than half of rural America had one of those and some batteries. And even people who had regional electricity still kept it because they would put it in places where they couldn't run a wire, right? So she had one, and I had repaired it, and I was building more so she could have more, because she had just the littlest of electricity. Right? And so I did that. And she actually had a line coming out of the ground that had 220, from somewhere, and she ran her fridge and her whatchamacallit, her TV, and her she had a couple of heaters, and she had an electric blanket. She was a big fan of electric blanket. So and she wasn't against technology. She just said, one needs, this is an aesthetic unto itself, just like everything else is. And so it needs to be appropriate. Its use needs to be appropriate. So that's where I, started my little idea of the Institute for Aesthetically Adept and Appropriate Technology, because I was going to be an adept, So she basically, I spent another 3 weeks there, and life went back to her, but it wasn't the same. Her little, real excitement. She still loved me. She was still excited about when we would do stuff. She'd still laugh. She would still teach. She would still do that. But on around 2 weeks after, about mid March, she said, "I think it's time for you to go." I said, "Well, I thought we were talking about, back on my birthday, you said maybe I should live here for a while and become your adept." And she goes, "Well, in my heart, you already are. But because you drank that pot of tea, you're not ready. So I think you have to go back in the world with all that you've learned so far. In my heart, you are an adept. But before I can go any further with your teaching on this side of the down low, you're going to have to go back in the world. And you're going to have to prove to yourself that you are the adept, because you feel guilt And even though you have a great deal of knowledge from me and from all that you've learned before you met me, you were already an adept. You had great teachers. You're already on that path. The door was open. You're already on the path. You were no longer a Padawan. And you were, you were an adept. You were on the adept. You already had been people's apprentice. You were Grandpa Stoll's apprentice. You were, Madam Olga Kluver's apprentice. You were apprenticed at the Theosophical Society. You were apprenticed under George Christie at the U.S. Psychotronic Society. You had a great deal of great teachers, So you're already an adept. But until in your heart you are the adept, you can come visit anytime you want. The way to find your way here. I brought you all the way through that magic path, so to come up to this mountain retreat here, this town, the highest bar, and that's how you find the Old Crone. You go to a place that has the highest pub in Ireland. And so off the West Coast, you come off the West Coast Highway and you come up a steep road like that, and you come into this, hamlet, not even a town, hamlet. And there's this very interesting stone building. Everything's made out of stone. And it is this, big windows, and it has a big porch. You go up these stone steps to the big stone porch, and you go in these doors, and it's kind of a general store. And over here is the post office, which is also the bank. And I don't know if any of this still exists, but when I was there in 69, 70, 74, 77, 81, no, 80. It was still there, but things were, in 88, Ireland changed. They signed the Maastricht Treaty because it became part of the EU, and it's all about money. The Romans couldn't take them down. The English couldn't take them down. Who were the Romans? But the Euro took the spirit, really kicked it. Anyway, so you know how to find this place. So that's, you if you are on the path, even if that little town still isn't what it was, you'll be able to. And if that store, which, it's made out of stone, man, they'd have to really, and I said, how old is this thing? And he said, well, the foundation is 1,000 years old. The building itself is 400 years old. The roof is 100 years old. And I am 42 years old, and my father over there he's 100 years old. You're 42, so your father had you when he was 58 years old. Yes, and my mother was 70, and she's over there. And this is when I first, the Crone sent me. When we first, we went into the pub. We drove up from Dublin, and we went in there for a drink and a little taka. That's food. And she introduced me to the family and everybody who was there. And she said, "This is my new apprentice, and he will come. Whenever he comes in, you just give him what he wants and put it on my account." No problem. And they all, hey, good to see you, nice to see you. And every time I would come down there in the Jeep, they would be the nicest there were. And my first international driver's license I got because the post office was the Irish post office, and the Irish post office, the bank used to be there. So that was like one of the higher elements of the Irish government. So you could get you wanted a passport, you wanted any document, you could get it through them. And since they were like, whatever the Old Crone said, so I came down. I said, I'm driving a car. I think I need a driver's. I don't really have a driver's license. I have mine taken away. That's a whole nother story. which I will tell you just after I tell you this story. Um, they said, sure. And I took out this little book. The guy had a Polaroid. He took my picture with a Polaroid, and he basically took this one page that he glued the picture on. He said, sign it here. I signed it there. And then he said, fill out this on the back side of the card, which he did. And then I looked and he goes, read everything. And as I reading everything, I then had to sign it again saying that I attest that it's all true. But one of the things where my picture is, that was a Polaroid, um, it said, you cannot use a Polaroid. He had stuck a Polaroid, and he had cut this paper little thing so you couldn't see that it was a Polaroid. You just saw my picture. And then he laminated it, and then he stuck it in this book, and he laminated that part of the book, so it was like double laminated, so you really couldn't see my picture. You could see the thing I signed, all of that. And I had this little booklet of he stamped, stapled it in. He stamped it, bing, 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 with all kinds of stamps on it. And he says, here you go. You're legal to drive in, he says, this is an international driver's license. Pretty much you can drive anywhere in the universe as long as they say we accept it, But mostly, Ireland, UK, pretty much anywhere in Europe, Turkey, places like that. Oh, big. Oh, it sounds like a Chinook. The military's going somewhere. Fucking going right over my house. Oh, more of them. It's a whole squadron. Ooh, something's happened. That's a Chinook and two Apaches. Something's going on. They went right over my house. You think they wanted to send me a message? I don't think so. But they're going someplace fast. 3 Chinooks. That means they have either a SEAL team in there, or Rangers in there, or Black Ops in there, because actually those craft did not have any markings on them, no numbers, no American flags, had nothing on those craft, and they had the high end Apaches, the ones that have the radar, and those aircraft are like anti-aircraft, meaning those helicopters not only have snake eyes on them, but they have anti-aircraft missiles, and they have a chain gun. It's like artillery in the sky. So they're going there to do something interesting. And whether you'll hear about it on your media or not, who knows? Because your media, I loved Donnie Chump because he lied and lies so much that he tells the truth. He goes, don't believe anything. It's all, fake news. Well, it is fake news, right? It's all lies. It is all lies. And it has been since Mesopotamia. This is a witch hunt. Well, pretty much it was, but it was an orchestrated one that he was played to pay a part. And he practiced being the president in his General Electric NBC TV show called The Apprentice. It was Apprentice. Ooh, the wind is really, really blowing up. And it's coming straight at those helicopters. Really don't like the wind. It'll be interesting. They're going, and it looks like it was like when I sat down here, super sunny. I couldn't see anything. It was just yellow and brown. Now the clouds have moved in, so they're moving towards a intense weather front. God knows what's causing it or what's there, but they're going there in a way fast way, and they were going fast. So they were high-end Chinooks and high-end Apaches, and they probably had. There were 3 Chinooks, each can carry 20. So that's 20, 40, 60 super soldiers, and two Apaches, air to air, air to ground, and chain gunned artillery. So that's a pretty formidable little force. You could take out almost anything with that. You could probably take out a battalion with that. Especially if you had some fast movers showing up just when you show up, and they soften things up and stayed as air cap. So if that isn't what they're off to do, they're off to an exercise to prepare to do that. And as I kind of started out to say, we are, if you thought 2020 was strange, 2021 is going to make 2020 look like Mary Poppins. And yes, it's tough. You had to stay inside and have, Amazon deliver everything you wanted, And the keeping everything locked up killed everyone who made their economy, everybody who made like 40,000 below. If you had a small business or a small endeavor or a job or any of that, it did a number on you. And your kids didn't go to school, and now they're committing suicide and doing harm to themselves. If you don't understand that this is a little passion play, whether it's brought on by God or the hidden hand or the powers that shouldn't be, it's definitely being administered by the sock puppets, our legislators that are money, we have legislators the best money can buy. And this has been how it's been since Mesopotamia. It's nothing new, except in 2012, when we finally traversed the benchmark, when the Mayan calendar ends, it's like the Roman calendar, meaning we are no longer in Kansas anymore. We're in we're in the Aquarian Age. And around 1890 something, we started to nudge into the Aquarian Age, via what's up in the stars. And as Plato said, it's a wise man who is guided by the stars, a fool who is led by them, right? So, in 2012, end of times didn't happen. Whitley Strieber wrote he writes some pretty good books. And he wrote a book called, his first book was Communion, Whitley Strieber, right? Communion. And it talked about his abduction and his relationship with the Greys. And what the Greys are is still up for debate. Another really good book he wrote is called 2012. And it opens up, people are watching TV, and the man on the news is going, here it is, 2012, end of times. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Here it is, New Year's Eve of 2012, and it's 11:45, and we're counting down, and now we'll cut to commercial. And then we're back, and it's 2 minutes to New Christmas Eve till midnight, and then into end of times. Who knows? It's the end of time. It's the end of Oh, but we're going to cut commercial because we only have 2 minutes left. We want to at least get that time in. Oh, here we are. We're counting down 1 minute before we drop the ball in Times Square. Well, it's already been New Year's in Australia and China and other places, but it doesn't count until the ball in Times Square falls. And it's falling, it's falling, it's falling, it's falling. Bing, it lights up the top. 2012, and we're still all here. See it. It's just a joke. Oh, just like, Y2K. Oh, and the book cuts to 2035. And there's a guy in an airplane, and the airplane is like, he's looking out the window, and it's a, Learjet, and he's looking at back, and one of the engines is smoking out, but it's still kind of flying the airplane. The other one is screaming loud, and the airplane is like doing this, and the weather's fine, and he kind of and he lands on this strip in a compound in Virginia of a big old, like George Washington, gigantic big White House with southern columns, and the plane is like pulls up and and the little hatch opens up, and there's a guy waiting for him in a car, and he helps him out, and the pilot says, I gotta go, get out. And so they, close the hatch, they get in the car, and they drive off of the tarmac, and the airplane turns around, taxis out to where, the end of the runway is so he can take off. And he kind of, and now the engines, one is smoking even more, and the other one's screaming even more, and they're kind of like this, watching the airplane start to move down, and it's moving, and it's kind of going up into the air, but it's having troubles, and he guns the motors, and the smoking engine explodes, and the other one is pushing so hard, it pushes the airplane into a spin. I mean, a real, like a top, like tip to tip of the wings. One of the wings snaps off, and then the airplane starts to roll this way and smashes into the forest about a quarter mile from where these guys are, and these guys are about an eighth of a mile to the big house. And the guy who's driving the car just drives him up to the house, and there's a butler waiting for him and takes his bag, and the butler isn't like prim. He's got like coffee stains on his nice white shirt, and and he's tried to like clean them up, and they go, and basically the story is this is a institute that was started back in 1892 to kind of nurture / be the midwife of the birth of what's coming after the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, right? And this guy, he comes, and they have tea and crumpets and stuff, and there's a few other people waiting for him, and the guy explains, so do you recognize each other? And they kind of look at each other, and they don't understand. I said, oh, and they're all, one guy's a endocrinologist, another guy is a physicist, and this guy is a kind of a guy like me, a psychosocial cultural forensic anthropologist. And Whitley kind of picked that up from my teacher, and he didn't use shamanic or alchemist, but he called it what he called it. Anyway, someone's blown my phone up. Let's see if I can read it. I can cancel. Oh, whatever. I still can't read it. I'll read it later when I wear 3 pairs of glasses. Anyway, and so he starts to give them a 411 of what they're there for, right? That the world is falling apart. There's wars. There's catastrophes. There's end times things happening. Earth changes. Major. California's already fallen into that. Texas has turned into the North Pole. New York is flooded above the Empire State Building, and half of Europe is like nuked, and China is nuked, and there's just little factions here and there, and that we're the last half of mankind. And they say that this was built on in the 1890s. It was built on the foundations of a sacramental Celtic site of a pyramid, and that they were all there people already down underground in the pyramid trying, because there's a mystery there, and they're trying to figure out what it means, because they realize, because they've been studying it for 1,000 years, that this is the key, the doorway into humanity starting again in the Aquarian age, going from there. And it is like going from the Padawan, we've been a Padawan all of this time. The doors opened. We are now the apprentices, and all these kids had gone to the school when they were younger, and they were all very special. And they were all, picked at birth to be educated and nurtured into being ready to do this. They have no idea what they're supposed to do, and they kind of remember being in a school, but they don't and they kind of remember each other, and they kind of remember all this, but it's not like in the firm, because they left that place at like 2 or 3 or 4, and they kind of remember it, but and then they went to other places where they were nurtured and taken care of and got the best of everything, right? Well educated. And so their socioeconomic situation didn't matter whatsoever. They were like given the best of the best. Very similar to me. My parents were not rich. They were upper middle class. That's what they were. And all my brothers and sisters who think they're well-to-do are just upper middle class. One little oops. And they're, why am I living out in the middle of the woods? Because if there's one little oops that happens, like the power goes off and never comes back. If Texas had, because they were totally unprepared, because the bankers who own their utilities used to be public. But under Bill Clinton, they were deregulated and bought out by banks and then sliced up into like bologna and sent and sold as, to investment bankers. So one utility for, let's say, Dallas is owned by 20 different banks, 20 different investment entities. And so they don't do any maintenance on it. No, as long as the thing works, they're making money and they can up their, right? And then they buy out the politicians of the state. So there is no one in the state legislature who has any kind of investment in the people. All they have investment is money, and these guys are paying them off. We had the best legislators, all the way from your neighborhood down, dog catcher, up to president. They're bought. Right? So go watch Jimmy Dore. He's like goes on and on about it. There are a ton of people on the YouTube who will give you chunks of this. I give you the bigger shamanic picture of what's going on. So go read Whitley's book. Right? I won't go any further than that. Go also read his book, The Greys. That's a very good book. Go read Joseph P. Farrell's books. He's got a ton of them. And he is truly a scholar. And he's like as weird as I am, maybe weirder, but he's a great guy. I love him, and go watch Dark Journalism. They are, like every kind of journalist outlet has their own, opinion, which is just their own prejudice. But they try to do their best to give you at least information on stuff that you probably haven't a clue about. And then it's up to you to believe whatever you want to believe. And that's really why we're here. As apprentices, we're here. We're in this sandbox called life. And we have experiences that give us, an experience that are supposed to give us an ability to learn something. But because of the hidden hand, which goes way back to basically Satan. But again, these things can't be simplistically talked about because they've gone through so many different variant changes. It's just like a really wigged out game of telephone. And Satan, he when people go, I'm a light worker. Well, what is that? They're working for Satan, because who was Satan? He was the original one. He was the Satan, Illuminati. What is the Illuminati? The illuminated one, And in the beginning, everything was dark, and then God created the light. Bingo, Satan. Why in Job is God hanging out with Satan in a titty bar, and God's going, look at my man Job. He's such a good guy. He does everything as I foretell. And Satan goes, well, that's cool, but why wouldn't he love you? Why wouldn't he sacrifice for you? Why wouldn't he do all the things you told Moses to tell him, to tell the other guy, to tell the other guy to do what you want? Of course, they got it all wrong, but that guy tries to do it right? And why wouldn't he? Because he's got the biggest house. It's the nicest ride. He's all the bling. He's got all the cows, all the sheep. He's got 20, trophy wives with trophy kids, and he's got his whole empire. Why don't you take some of it away? See what he says. He'll curse you. And that's the beauty of Job, because he is the Aboriginal, indigenous first artist in the first person. And his art is love's co-creation. So no matter how much, and what loving God would make his number one guy who loves him so much be tortured and take watch his kids die, his wives die, everybody he loves die, everything taken away from him. He's given pestilence. People won't touch him because he's got open sores. He still is in love's co-creation. Now we're heading, this little, the door's open. We can walk into the Aquarian age and be the apprentice. But we watch Donald Trump be the apprentice for the Stalinist obstructionist of this doorway. And so all the people who think they got it nice, and so they're nice and white. Well, what happens, there is a number of laws still in the books. We put American citizens who were of Japanese culture, meaning most of the people who got put in internment camps in the desert in the Southwest during World War II didn't just come, they weren't just immigrants. They had been here for numbers of generations. Because they were Japanese, they had yellow skins. And most of all, the head Democrat in California wanted to take their property. And he had passed through the state legislature this internment thing. And FDR, for his next thing, needed to have California to get elected. And so this guy said, listen, if you make this state law a federal law, and you intern all the Japanese, and I will buy all of their property from them for half pennies on the dollar, I will make sure you're president. Which he does. FDR becomes president. And the Japanese go into concentration camps out there and they were surrounded by barbed wire. And yes, they weren't, they were some beaten and tortured and raped, but not like the folk in the work camps in Germany. But still, this was not very constitutional. Those laws are still on the books. The Congress apologized, right? And they were trying to get reparations. And what does reparations mean? Not to pay, it's not like paying the money. Reparations is to change the law. It's still on the books. And what did Obama do? He changed that same law so he could take anybody in America and put them in those kind of camps. And Donald Trump used that FDR/Obama law to put the kids on the border. So that means anybody, can be. And if you go to those conspiracy things, I mean, who knows what's going on? I don't. And I tell you right off the bat, good morning, good evening, welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei, Al Bob. Don't believe a word I say. This is a story for entertainment's sake. Get it? Entertainment. It's Hollywood. It's amazing, crazy Hollywood. And why do they call that place where they make movies and entertainment, mass media, Hollywood? Why? Because in the magic wand, it's made from a Hollywood. The wood of a holly tree, a holly bush. Very, very strong in temporal scalar mechanics. Hollywood, that crazy, crazy Hollywood. The sun comes out. Look at that. Warming me up a little. So, no one's saying much. I guess you like the stories. You're engrossed. So, I said I was going to tell you a story after that story after that story, but So anyway, now the old crone is in another plane. And that's, the whole, and she is the person who basically, Griot Publishing, I did as a tap of a hat to her, right? And when we were out and about in, the material world, when we were in Dublin, and one time we went to Scotland with Archie, and so we went to London too. And it was really interesting. Archie was one of the first people along before Sitchin was going on about the pyramids being, whatever they are, and any of those folks. There were a lot of other people, in the 1790s. The 1790s, they understood that there were going to be earth changes in the year 2000. And there are a lot of, the Theosophical Society, the U.S. Psychotronic Society, the ISIS Foundation, just to name three, because I was members. I was an adept of all three of those, right? And meaning I wasn't just a card-carrying member. I was a person who had a master who was in the hierarchy of those entities, and they were like pruning me like a bush, like Hollywood, to carry on. And as time came closer and closer for me to sign on, I said, guys, I love you. You're my teacher. You're my master, and I am your adept. But I don't know about being part of this organization. I don't know if I can, sign my, because everything you told me is like I serve love's co-creation and not this entity. And they said, yeah. We like that you're saying this. It shows a good thing. It's a harder way to go, though. If you get your magic induction card, that's going to be power. You out there on your own, we'll die. We'll be on a higher state. We'll watch your back. We'll keep an eye out on you. But it was each three of those entities. I had a teacher in all of them, and it was at the time of their death. They're on the deathbed. And they give me a call and say, the wife calls or their significant other or their butler says, the master wants to speak to you. Okay. And I'd be coming there every day. I said, well, I'm going to be there. No, you should come now. Don't wait an hour or two. Come now. And each one of those situations I came, and they were not there just by themselves or with their significant other or their family. They were there with the dudes and dudettes of these organizations in their high table. All these things have high tables. What's a high table? Folks who sit at the high table get to eat from that level, meaning in every level, right? What they put in here, what they put in here, what they put in here. That's the high. And so I was supposed to sign on so I could take their place at that high table. And the first one I said, I don't know. And that person said, well, okay. And again, we're all very happy that you have that kind of integrity, not to just sign yourself off to a belief that you're going to follow the path that I put you on. So there will be other times along the path that you will come across, and I'm going to introduce you to all these people at the high table, and they will bump into you and offer you again. And each one you'll be offered 3 times to be able to join these entities, and it will be after you've accomplished something truly amazing, and which will prove to them that you warrant their need of you on this high table. But if you reject it, you're taking a higher path, a harder path, a more interesting path. You're following truly love's co-creation, because you're not co-creating with these guys in the essence of what their bylaws say love is. You and love are down, and you are you were put here to be a innocent, non-committed, a lucky bastard, meaning a child of God, which we all are. But as we opt out for the easy way to go, which I've done many times when I was working with Kessler lawyers, I was, Mr. Hedonist to the max. So I gained 250 pounds in about 10 years. It's a lot of weight. That's a lot of hedonism. But I never signed on to. Twice during that period, a number of the people who I was trying to get to sign something were a member of any one of these entities, but down not on the high table, but they said, my master came and told me about you and they want to talk to you. And so, you know, I never went that route. And once I, came back from death the sixth time after this and basically got my body back to, well, you can't be sick, you walk around, you walk that 2 miles to make that video. Yeah, in pain and suffering, and the pain doesn't go away. Now I can mediate it with meditation and breath to a place where instead of it being a disease, I put it in homeostasis, a balance, and I use that pain as a mechanism to motivate me in a positive direction. Now, we could have many a time, um, especially after back in 1965. We could have opted, and I was already in prep schools, and I was already on this path, and I already met Billy Kluver and Madame Olga Kluver, and I was already dancing. I was already dancing around the fire with the Theosophical Society, and we talked about how to, motivate the humankind to a more positive, easier birth into the Aquarian age. But the Vietnam War was going on. There were hundreds of wars going on. Drugs were being filtrated through everything. Hey, Martin Young. Evening. So how long you been on this? Did you watch my earlier show in the morning that I didn't know whether I was doing? And then I restarted this one. How long you been following the storyline of we're going on? Did you see the warbirds fly over my head? They were like right over my head. Did you see that? I picked my laptop up, dropped my umbrella, and put it in your direction. Did anybody see those helicopters? Martin, I am really, really, really happy to see you because you're the only brave one to start to chat. So, Martin, I'm going to stop telling stories and go to just turned in, been driving all day. Okay. Are you in America or out there in lands of foreign? Where are you located? And how long have you been watching Dreamy Dreamland? And what do you like about Dreamy Dreamland? What do you want to see more on Dreamy Dreamland? Let's see. Rural Wales. I love Wales. United Kingdom. Why it's called that? Can you tell us why United Kingdom is called that, Martin? And I'll give everyone a little hint. Martin knows the answer. So, while Martin is thinking on how to answer that or ask another question, because you can do either or. You don't, and I don't want to put you in a hard place. You can just tell, any of those things I asked you, what you like best, how long you've been watching. Those are softball questions. You should know why the UK is called the United Kingdom, right? What do they? What's the other? There's the United Way. There's the EU. The European Union. What is the United Kingdom? Let's see. Yep. England is not one country. It's many countries. And as Dr. Young here tells us, he lives in a principality. And there are principalities that the king and queen can kind of go in and take all your stuff. There's a place called the City of London. There's a section of London that the Queen's family owns. and that what's his name, her son, who I don't ever think is going to become king, because his mother is a reptile who lives forever. He can go into any one of those houses and have, you know what the word, oh, I don't like to say this word. I use the word frack, but FUCK stands for fornication under church and king. And that rule still rolls in a number of principalities in the United Kingdom, where, any one of the, who's the moron who was married to Diana? That guy can go into any one of these into certain principalities and take their stuff, have sex with their children, the wife, the husband. You can do anything, And when you have legal trespass like that, it does very weird things to your brain. And that's why this little island conquered the planet and treated it very badly for about 200 years. And then rebranded it into the special relationship called the Anglo-American relationship, where they made, so first it was the Holy Roman Empire. First it was, it was the Mesopotamian, then the Babylonian, then the Egyptian, then the Greek, then Rome, right? And each different iteration of that became more perverted and more materialistic and more egocentric, rather than realizing that you're on a spiritual journey. And Prince Charles, that's the boy. Yep. Been watching Dreamy Dream for a while. I enjoy your stories. Prince Charles. Yep. And Martin, as along with the rest of the audience, all of my stories are shamanically edged, right? Meaning it's like taking a little vitamin pill. Like I keep saying, don't believe a word I say, because the stories are just stories. But they are infecting you with a antiviral of this materialist ego of hate and violence, and opening your heart's doorway into the journey into love's co-creation. As I tell you these stories, I'm giving you tools that enable you to more and more, every day and every way, to take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. With that, at 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 22 seconds, we're going to say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation. And that is a prayer. That isn't just a Christian prayer. It's a Druidic prayer. It's a Jewish prayer. It's a Hindu prayer. It's an Islamic prayer. It's a Buddhist prayer. It's everyone who wants to serve love's co-creation. That prayer goes to that. Our Father, meaning our prana, the force that gives us life. Our Father, who art in heaven, above us, right? And it's in the upside, because we live in this downside of the world, we're in the sandbox of this planet, this solar system, and this planet specifically is a Garden of Eden. And the humans have been around easily a billion years, but somewhere between 500 million and 20 million years ago, all of the planets were habitable. They had spirits, that, and on moons, a lot of the moons were habitable. And there was a big, major planet between Earth, Mars, and Saturn and Jupiter, right there, right where the Oort belt is, where the asteroid belt is. And we had a war, and there was weaponry, scalar weapons, and the moon, right? And so good old Joseph Campbell told George Lucas this whole story, and George Lucas made Star Wars. And it's too bad. It's I really like George Lucas as a filmmaker. I liked all his movies before it. I liked all the ones after it. Um, I just wish he would have given um, Joseph Campbell a little tip of the hat, because George Lucas sat at um, Joseph Campbell's feet for a whole year and just took notes of that story, right? And um, Joseph Campbell, when I left University of Maryland, because I was there as an anti-war organizer, and it was a joke, because the people who were the guys who had the bullhorns and went up there, like Abby Hoffman and what's his name, who became a banker, Reuben, Jerry, were just there to get laid. And that scene from Forrest Gump where he gets the big blue medal after saving all his buddies in Vietnam, and then bumps into his girlfriend Jenny, who's being physically violently, malistically harmed, um, and that was the guy who was the guy speaking at the anti-war rally, right? And that's why I left the university. I wasn't matriculating to the University of Maryland. That was just where our base of operation outside of College Park was. We were in a neighborhood that was had been redlined in the 60s, and the highway good old Robert Moses put 95 right through it and destroyed this working class community, and it was dead. There were no red line. There were no stores, no nothing. There was no access, food, desert. They closed the public schools. The churches left. Everyone left. The poor people who couldn't leave didn't leave. So we went in there, found a nice abandoned house. I jumped everything, and we lived there, about 12 of us, and we were anti-war guys and gals, and we were different because we had people of color. We had SNCC there, and we had a few other entities there, and not as organizational, but as people. We were building a community, and that was our vision, to build a community, because we realized that the war thing, it wasn't the war that was the problem. That was just a syndrome of what was going on, and it was the aesthetic. We were trying to build an alternative aesthetic to ego's, greed's, hate's aesthetic of the thing, of having to have more things. And George Carlin talked about it very in his skit about stuff, right? And so we were trying to live that way. So we lived in an abandoned building, and it's really where I myself got really into garbage. I couldn't believe I had a pretty big truck that I didn't, it wasn't even licensed. I got this. So I grew up in New York City, right? And you don't need a car or a truck or a vehicle in New York City unless you have a business or something, right? They had subways and buses, and you could walk. And I did and I worked for Grandpa Stoll, and I worked, and I walked. I was the fix-it guy. I took subways. He gave me, if I had to move stuff, he gave money to get a cab, or if a lot of stuff, the supply guys would deliver it in their trucks. But after I got to a certain age, sometimes I would want to go someplace other than New York, right? I would want to go out to the woods, or I'd want to go visit this or visit some friends over there. So I had a buddy who ran the garage. It was a pier on the west side, big pier that went out into the Hudson. And all the cars that got towed for parking infractions would be taken to that pier. And if you had your car towed, you would go there, and they had a big gate. You couldn't, there's my car. Yeah, there's your car. Now pay the ticket. And by the way, you have about 300 other tickets. So you got to write a check or give me the credit card, and I'll take $1,500. Then you can have your car. And if they didn't, they couldn't get the car back. And this guy on the side, his side gig was everyone who didn't get their car, he would sell. He would, because he legally had the right to, because he started a LLC where his company could buy those cars after X amount of time and nobody took them, he could buy them. So he would buy them for like $1. And then there was another, he rented another, pier that he had his used car dealership on. And you would go over to see him in his little block house of the towing cars and say, "Hey, Bernie, how you doing? I want to buy a car." I said, "Fine." He would lock that door. We would walk 20 paces over to the other pier. He'd unlock that gate. We'd walk in. He goes, "Go ahead, stroll around, see what you want, and I'll be back at my block house." He'd go back there and do that job till you figure out what car you wanted. And he had the keys in every car. I mean, you could, you wanted to smash through the gate, but he had these big concrete blocks, so it wasn't easy. You really, So anyway, he and you had to move a bunch of cars to get him past the concrete. It was tough. It wasn't an easy steal, and most people didn't know you had to. Anyway, went around. You could start the engine, listen to it, and I would go by, and I would always have. I said, "Bernie, which is your $100? What's your $10 car, $100 car, $200 car? $200 car is a pretty good car. $100 car was good enough. $10 car would get you around for who knows. Would get you out of there." So, depending on how much money I have, I would buy a car, and we would go back to his little block house where he had a computer, and he would fill everything out, and he'd push a button, and it would spit out a cardboard driver's license, parking, not a license, a license plate made out of cardboard. And I would put it on there. It was good for a month. And you could pay him the state an extra fee, and you could get it for 3 months. Like you were going to take it to another state, and you may not be able to get it. You could legally drive that car anywhere in America with that cardboard license plate. For an extra $10, you got for 3 months. I would get that. Then after 3 months, if it hadn't been towed away or set on fire or stolen or whatever, I would just change the number on the license plate. And and then they changed to these little stickers, which just happened to be sold by Corvettes, and it's like the New York City version of Walmart's. And, it's for office things, so you could put the date on a document. And I bought a box of those, and it would look just exactly, that's like where the state got them, and would just change the date. So it really looked, I could drive almost anywhere with that car. And I did until one day I was out of state, and I was in Southampton because I had just wired, relit, really what I did, relit Studio 54. And it was like, oh, wow, it looks different. Who did that? And this rich guy wanted to build his own nightclub. There was no real like Studio 54, big kind of place in Southampton, and a lot of money in Southampton. So he had bought a kind of factory building that was on the edge in, a place in Mauritius. This is how I found Mauritius. And there were many Mauritius. And there was Central Mauritius, East Mauritius, West Mauritius. And there was this one Mauritius that was Eastern Mauritius, and it was right there. And it was it wasn't a factory building, and it was a big, like farm building, because out in that area, there were more potatoes grown in that part of Long Island than in Idaho. It was like the vegetable capital for New York City, where all the truck farmers would go into New York City from, and sell their wares to the wholesalers in the hotel scene in the Brooklyn market. So I said, okay. He took me out there in his own car, showed me everything, and he goes, "Well, I want you to, you're a theater guy. This is, I want you to build this discotheque on a theater motif." And I said, "A great idea. So what one do you want?" He goes, well, you're the theater guy. And I said, okay. So I said, let's go to your house, because he had a really nice rich guy's house, and he had a quote unquote library, right? So we went back to his place, smoked a couple of blunts, drank some nice liquor. His cook and his maid brought us a nice dinner, and because this guy was a single guy, he did not want. He was a trustafarian in the big time. He got lots. He was in his 30s. He was really liquid. He had cash to do whatever the heck he wanted. I mean, he had $3 million to throw at this thing, and wouldn't even bother him. It's like a plaything. So I said, fine, good idea. So we're having dinner, we're having blunts, we're drinking brown liquor, and I'm looking through his library to see, and so I find the Greek play Antigone, right? Get that. Then I find Shakespeare's book, and it has, Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, Merchant of Venice, and a couple other, not the ones that everyone is talking about, Gildersleeve and Mergersnitz. And I say, okay, read these two books, and don't read them like your grammar school teacher. Kind of thumb through them, find things you like, and then read. Like Antigone, you're going to have to read the whole thing, but it's only a short play. It's only 60 pages. You can read 60 pages. And read the introduction. This guy's introduction is pretty good. Gives you the political and historical sense of what's going on. And read the 60 pages of the play, right? Okay. And then through Shakespeare, just thumb through it and just come across things that you like. And, so he does. I go away. I come back. Then we talk about it, and then I go away, and he's got a nice brownstone. And so he says, "Oh, come to my brownstone." So I go to his brownstone. It's kind of off of Fifth Avenue near the Met. And so we have a nice dinner. He goes, "Okay, I've got it all laid out." I go, "Great." So he goes, what the club to be based on is Midsummer's Night's Dream. And I go, "That's great. Yeah, that's the most vivid, crazy. That's a disco if I've ever heard of one." And he goes, "But I want to have these little offset worlds as like Antigone. I want a woman's world, not just the powder room where women can run off to, but their own world. And I want it based on, Antigone, this kick-ass woman, if I could only find, and I'm doing it because I want to find my own Antigone, because I need an Antigone to run all the Michigas I got." And I go, "That's a great idea." And he also wanted to do a Merchant of Venice idea and a Gildersleeve and Durbanstein one and As You Like It world. And because he had this gigantic warehouse that was a farmer's warehouse, and it was like a good somewhere between 40 and 70,000 square feet. I mean, it was gigantic. It was like as big as a football field, and the ceiling went up a good 40. It had a number, at least 40 feet, if not higher. And it was kind of a curvish, not flat, but because it had columns on, it had the walls, and then about 30 feet in, it had these other walls, and the roof was peaked over that. And there was a ridge, but it didn't have a ridge peak. I mean, it didn't have a thing. They had cross beams going across that. So they had this was big open. It had big open rolling sideways doors. Electrically, you hit a button. So I said, this was great. And part of that faced the ocean, and what is called the Great South Bay. And so it kind of had a beach, and it had farmland all around it. So I said, okay. And it had a great, the Great South Bay had a tributary. I forgot, it was a rivulet. It came from, there's a river in the middle of Long Island, near Islip, maybe further closer up. Anyway, there is, right where the, what highway is that? The military highway, whatever they call it. It's right where Brookhaven is. And right, Brookhaven's here on the western side of Long Island, and then about 15 miles west of I guess, no, North Shore. Brookhaven's on the North Shore of Long Island. You go west about 50 miles, and there's Shoreham. And right between there, there's this kind of river that goes across. And it kind of, and then right where Brookhaven's is this road, Army, military, because Brookhaven's, military, it's a national laboratory. It had a lot to do with the atomic bomb, blah, blah, blah. Had everything to do with the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk project. And because Montauk is just right there. And so this property was kind of in the township of Southampton. It was in the Mauritius, right there on the edge of Southampton, the Great South Bay, and this rivulet was it. So this rivulet it was a river, not just a little stream that you could walk over. You'd have to swim through this thing. And because it was feeding out into the Great South Bay, or feeding from the South Bay, his property was almost like it was like a toe of the South Bay, right? And so there was a wooden bridge that the farmers took their trucks over, and that's how you got to this property. And it was about a little less than 100 acres, because it was a farm at one time. It was a fishing thing at one time, so it had places where boats were. And so he wanted to, have this gigantic warehouse of a nightclub with all these different worlds in it. And he wanted little houses that people could stay in. This is way before Airbnbs. Have a beautiful beach with a nightclub on that. Have a place where people could take boats out to Fire Island, and people from Fire Island could bring their boat there. And this was going to be a wild, crazy scene, right? And my kind of place. So this guy had more money than God. And so I said, fine, okay. So I started. And I had this car, a little Ford Comet. I mean, it was like the smallest car they made. It was beyond a compact, right? And it was this kind of canary yellow. So I was a canary in the coal mine, but the canary in the comet, basically. It was yellowish, and it had a pink interior. So I had my carpet friend put shag carpet on the floor, pink, screaming pink, on the dashboard and on the thing, because no one had taken his car. And my friend just said, "Oh, wow, this is cool. If you take me over to," he loved Danceteria. He says, "That guy will never let me in. You go over there. He's your buddy. You wired that place. You go over there and say, 'This is my friend. Let him in.'" He could get in the friend store. I mean, wouldn't have to pay a nickel to get in, which I did, and he put the carpet in. So I had this amazing canary yellow Comet with a screaming yellow carpeting on the dashboard and on the floor. And I had bought these kind of slip covers for the seats that were leopard. And so I'm driving along, but and the yellow was so faded that it wasn't screaming yellow like the carpet was. And I, was driving back and forth from Southampton to this guy's estate and this place, and was doing it, right? And so I had to go in. So I wasn't there. I didn't park myself there. And I didn't really have a driver's license, period. Didn't have one. So, because I was in New York, you didn't need one. Right. So, and I'm driving this, and I've been driving these kind of cars from my buddy on the pier for at least 3 years. And if they tow it away, no big deal. I could go and buy it back if I wanted to. Or the guy would let me take my stuff out and get another car. Didn't matter. So I was, I got very used to it. And I got stopped once by a policeman because I was driving down 6th Avenue the wrong way, turning into a one-way street going the wrong way, coming down the other avenue going the wrong way, coming back on another cross street that I wanted to go on that I couldn't make. But it was 2 in the morning. There was no traffic at all. I didn't see anybody. And each street I went through a red light. So not only did I turn left onto a one-way street going the wrong way, I went through a red light. Not only did I turn onto an avenue going the wrong way, but I went through a red light. Not only did I go on another street, and so I came back to where I was, and there was a cop there watching me do this. And he saw me go through 2 red lights and realized that I went down 3 one-way streets the wrong way. And he just, and the red light stopped, and there was a big bright, my headlights, and there's a light from the street. He stepped out underneath the street light and put his hand up. And I'm like a little drunk, really stoned, and I stop. And he kind of waves me over to like park, and I kind of get over there, and I still have a blunt in my mouth. So it looks like a cigar, but it smells not like a cigar. And he looks at me and he goes, "Sir, your registration, your license, your insurance card, and your inspection. You don't have an inspection sticker." And he looks at me and he goes, "Sir, do you know that you went through 3 stoplights? 2 of that I saw, but you went on 3 one-way streets the wrong way, and then I stopped you here. Do you realize that you did that?" He goes, "Well, yeah, I think I know that I did do that. Yes, I think I did. But I did it so quickly, and there was no traffic. And did I hit anyone? Did I harm anyone? Is anyone complaining?" So, well, you broke some serious traffic violations, And I said, "Okay, so." And then he goes, "So I'd like to see your license." And I go, "I don't have one." "You don't have one?" I said, "No." "Registration?" I go, "Don't have one of those." And he looks at he goes to the back and he kind of rips the cardboard license plate off. And then he starts, and there's like 4 of these little stickers on there. And he goes, and I said, "But I do have," and I pulled out the title and bill of sale that shows that I didn't steal the car. I said, "So I didn't break any, I didn't steal it. I own it. And, but you don't have a license. You don't have it registered. You don't have it insured. What if you had an accident?" Well, I said, "Look how long I've had this, over a year." And he goes, "Okay, I'm just going to give you a warning. I want you to drive this car. Where do you keep it?" I said, "Well, I have a friend who has a shop. I put it in my garage when I don't use it. So I want you to put this car in that garage and keep it there and go get yourself a license. Go get this car registered and go get it insured. Will you do that, sir?" I said, "Officer, of course. I will do that immediately. And I'm letting you go at 2 in the morning. I'm about to get off my shift. And I would have to take about 6 days of paperwork to, and I'm not going to do that. It's a waste of all my time. Good luck, sir. And thank you for understanding." I said, "No, officer, thank you for understanding. You're doing a great job." And so I drive off. And I do not put the car in my friend's, place. And I still drive around with that. And before he sends me, I said, "I never want to see you again." I said, and so I never drove. I said, "Is this your precinct? Is this where you?" And he told me the streets that he kind of, walked on. I said, "Okay, he'll never see me." So I never, I didn't go on the west side, period. Didn't do it. Didn't go up 6th Avenue. Didn't come down 8th Avenue. Did not. And I especially didn't go between Union Square and, 42nd Street. That was his little neck of the woods. Now, I could go on the West Side Highway. That wasn't his thing. And I could go on 5th Avenue. That wasn't his thing. So I didn't do that. But I was still driving out to Long Island in this car, and I would do it, early in the morning. I'd leave New York before traffic. I'd leave, at 6 in the morning. And going out, leaving New York at 6 in the morning, there was nobody on the road. And I would go out, and I wouldn't speed. I would just do the nice little thing. And I had lights on my, I went, basically, I sold that car, that Comet, and I went back and to my friend, and I bought another car so I could get a new real cardboard license plate and title, and I would be able to more comfortably. I wasn't like a screaming thing, but it was still. It was another Comet. He said, "I got another Comet for you. It's baby blue." Okay, with silver interior. I said, "Sounds good to me." So I got that, and I got the guy. He still had more of that orange, um, shag carpet. So he put shag orange carpet on the top and on the floor, and I got more leopard, um, seat covers, and I drove that car, and I was driving that, and I was I had a bunch of stuff that I had from my cache that I was going to use on this project. And so I had all kinds of things sticking out of every window and such of this Comet. And I was left New York, and I got on Long Expressway and got to where I got off this exit, and I got went on that 25, and then I got on a cut east to west, no, north to south. I mean, it went both ways, but it was a farm road. And I thought, and that was, I said, there's nobody going to be on this road at 7 in the morning. And I was right. And so, but it was a long, flat stretch that you can almost see from one end of Long Island to the other. There were a couple of little bumps and curves and little clumps of trees that stopped you from seeing that. But there were long, long stretches, right? So I'm driving along, and and I see a car coming towards me. So, I kind of slowed down. And then, maybe a tenth of a mile away, I see it's a police car. So I make sure I'm doing the speed limit. I'm going nice, conservative drive. I'm in a baby blue, almost white Comet. And I drive by the guy. And I'm looking in the rear view mirror, nothing. Rear view mirror, nothing. Rear view mirror, nothing. Still going away from me. Before he hits the place where I can't see him anymore, I see him turn around, put on his lights, and head my way. And maybe he's on a call. So I still drive very conservatively, and he stops right, and starts to edge me off the road. And so I say, okay. So I pull over, and he basically goes, "Sir, did you know that one of your running lights was out?" Meaning, I still had my lights on. If I turned my lights off as soon as it was like in that, it was like 7:30ish. There was a little bit left. Long Island has fog, and it had a little bit of mist, and so I kept my lights on. But that yellow light was out. And after I had these kind of cars for so long, I had the little driving manual of what's right and wrong. And so I said, no, I didn't know that. And I'll get it fixed right away. And he says, let me see your license and registration. And I said, just wait a minute. And I pulled out the little legal book, and I said, right here in, driving car, 2-496 says that whether I have the only lights that you really can stop me for, lights on the license plate, which I think work, and my headlights. If I have one, you can stop me and give me a little certificate that says I have to get it fixed by this time or I get a ticket. Still not even a ticket. It's not even a summons. And I said, those yellow lights say that that doesn't. So why did you have the authority to stop me? Then I had my little thing of the Constitution, and I read him the Fourth, Fifth, Seventh, 14th Amendment, and I said, this is unconstitutional. Um, Stop. And I'm just going to drive away. Pulls out his gun. If you drive away, so I'm going to shoot you in the head. And I go, okay, so we're at a little stalemate. What do you want to do? Because what I want you to do is follow me back to the municipal center, and we will talk to the attorney, the county attorney. Okay. So he doesn't even ask me for my license, registry, and none of that. He just says, if you drive away, I'm going to shoot you in the head. So I follow him, I parked the car. I, out, go into the building, walk down the hallway, go into a room. He says, "Stay here." I stay there, and so this attorney comes in, and he says, "So, what's your name?" He fills out all the stuff. He goes, "I'll be right back." Comes back, goes, "Okay, so you live at this place?" I said, "Yeah, kind of." And he goes, "I see that you purchased this car on such and such a date, but you didn't register it. You don't have a driver's license. You don't have it insured. You don't have this, inspection sticker." Yep. And I said, "Well, of New York City ordinance, blah, blah, blah." I said, "But you're not in New York City. You're in Long Island." He goes, "You just stay right here." I said, "I don't think I'm going away. So you want a cup of coffee?" I said, "Sure, give me a cup of coffee." He goes out. Somebody brings me a cup of coffee. And then the prosecuting attorney shows up with a, like he went, he's got not just a summons, a thing, but a thing to try me in court, right? And he goes, "Okay, sign this." I said, "I want to read it and I want a lawyer." He goes, well, that's fine. You can do that. But you will be put in jail. And then unless you can, and you don't get a phone call, and within 3 hours, we will send you to county. And then who knows what will happen to you in county. And unless you have $1,500, no, he said, unless you have $2,500 in cash, that's your, to not have to go to jail money. I said, "Well, I do have 1,500. He said, not good enough. $2,500. And I go, "Okay." He goes, "But you do have an alternative." I said, "I do?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Yes. You can plead guilty. You don't have to sign this piece of paper. You can just come to court right now, go in front of the judge, plead guilty, and you will be given a summons, just a moving violation, a like traffic summons. That's not even it's not a felony. It's not a misdemeanor. It's just a summons, and you'll pay a fine." I said, "Okay, let's go." So I go into court, and the judge says a bunch of things and goes, "How do you plead?" And I say to the judge, "Well, the prosecuting attorney didn't quite explain this legal thing, this legal thing, this legal thing." And he said, "He did explain to you that if you want a lawyer, you're going to either have to get bail or go to county and wait for a lawyer. And that could take forever. Or you have the choice to just plead guilty to what I said, and I will fine you, and you can walk out that door, and you won't even have it, on your record, Mr. Okay. Sure. And so he has an envelope with my stuff, car keys, my wallet, my this, my that. And he pours it out of the envelope, and he takes my wallet, and he takes the big wad of cash I have, and he counts it out. And on this thing, your penance, is $1,500. We're taking all your cash. And I just kind of go, "Really?" He goes, "Listen, son, you have all of 5 minutes to make up your mind. Otherwise, that sheriff there is going to put you in handcuffs and take you straight to county. And God knows if anyone will ever see you again." I go, "Okay, I'm guilty." And I was guilty of all that other stuff, but I wasn't even going to get charged for any of that. So I say, "Okay." So I go out to the little desk. They have the envelope, they have my wallet, and the key to the comic has been taken. And the copy of the title has been taken. And I basically go with, "Don't get the car. No, you can't drive that car out of here. No, we are taking that car." And I go, "Well," and the guy goes, "And you have all of 40 minutes to get your stuff. We have taken it out and thrown it on the parking lot." And if you don't get that stuff, meaning my tools, I mean, I had maybe $6,000 worth of stuff that they just called stuff. Don't get that out there. We are just going to take it, and then we're going to issue a thing for unlawful this, littering. That I said, okay. Do I get one phone call at least? And yes. I call my brother. At least he answers. I say, Michael, what are you doing right now? I said, I'm waking up. I said, well, get in your truck and come over to the, North Shore Municipal Center, and I need to get out of here before you never see me again. And so he goes, okay. So he hangs up, and as a true good brother, he shows up like, 40 minutes. I said, he'll be here under an hour. Is that okay? And the guy goes, yep. We'll actually give you 2 hours. I said, gee, thanks. So my brother gets there 40 minutes. We throw everything up in his truck. And as we're just about to leave, we come out of the parking lot, and I see the judge, the prosecuting attorney, and the arresting officer splitting my money. The judge gets the most, the arresting officer gets the next most, and the arresting officer. And this is a scam they have. And this guy and another cop cruised around on roads. I mean, if I took a main road, I would have never gotten stopped. And this is changed I always go on main roads. So anyway, and I always drive legally. I never do anything to break the law in a little way. I break it, in the bigger kind of context of the spiritual motif of trying to be a sensei to you folk. Let's see. Right. Our friend from Wales sent me a thing that they wouldn't want to hear. But basically, it was one of the better things that happened to me because I was so self-assured of how groovy I was that I could skate through anything, that this kind of just was a little, no, moron, be a little more awake. And it was, the $1,500, the few minutes. I didn't even go to jail. I just sat in a room, to being treated that way. And then, so I say to my brother, hey, just stop for a minute. I get out and I go to where these guys are in the parking lot. Excuse me. I say, Your Honor, I did not get a receipt for that. And he goes, listen, son, don't be a smart beep. You want to beep, 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 beep. Go to jail. Just feel lucky and get out of here. I said, Your Honor, not a problem. Walked around, got in the car, took off. And I saw that as as our friend on whatever channel the Canary in the Coal Mine is one where his hair was like he had big patches and it was white and blue. And it's a miracle that I'm alive. These kind of fall more into that kind of category because it was a miracle. I got out of there without, if I was black, I'd be dead, period. Right. And, or not, be still in jail. So, that's one little. So that was a great miracle. That was a gift because it made me a little more awake. So I don't break the law, period, because the law is irrelevant and meaningless. So why worry about breaking? I mean, don't break it. The little things. I don't do anything. Like that Monsanto does, or General Electric does, or Boeing does, or any of those large transnational corporations that live in an existence where no one can touch them. They're the untouchables. That whole hidden hand that people don't even know where that hand is coming from, or the high table. All they can see are the little bottom parts of the table. They don't even see people's feet. They do see the sock puppets, but everyone knows they're sock puppets. So I had God knows how much time in on the last. It's almost 2:00. I haven't eaten anything, so I'm starting to get a little hungry. So, and the sun is coming out, and now I can't even read what's saying. Yeah, total scam. But so is government. And so, all of this thing that, like I say, I'm gonna draw this all up. I'm not just gonna meander all over the place with stories, but all these stories have been these shamanic tales that have left a little taste in your mouth. Now you should start to really appreciate test. First time I ever went through the portal to the other side, to the up. We're in the down low, they're in the up high, right? And that's where we got this idea of heaven and hell. We basically, here in this material world, live in the hell of the sandbox, right? By eating that fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. We are here in this avatar of this bag of water. We are in the down low. But when you can elevate yourself shamanically to a place where you can walk through that portal, otherwise, you're not gonna, you're not stepping through anything. You're gonna, oh look, it's a doorway. King, it's gonna like hit a brick wall. And there's a great book called Men Who Talk to Goats or something. Anyway, and this was back in the day when I was in at Duke University, which is another element. It's like Cornell and Duke, Chicago University, a few other, Stanford. These are all schools, MIT, Harvard, that are connected directly into the military-industrial complex, that then funnel that out into the rest of the educational complex, and then out into and through the corporate structure of things like Lockheed and Grumman and Boeing and General Dynamics and GE, who own the banking and the utilities. That's how this is all. Go watch David Icke, and he explains it very well, right? And also go watch read Joseph P. Farrell. Go watch the Dark Journalism, and he has Joseph P. Farrell on a lot. He also has Catherine Austin Fitz, and the guy, I forget his name, who is all about Mariner. Our economy is based on the seas, of commerce across the seas. And there's, when you go into a courtroom, there's an American flag that's just the Stars and Stripes, and then there's one Stars and Stripes with a gold leaf around it. And that is, it's not marine law, it's naval law or ocean law or something like that. So go take a little jump into that, and you'll see how things are organized, right? And then understand above it is all of this other stuff. And David Icke talks about it, but still David is just scratching the surface, right? And Joseph P. Farrell writes scholarly on the organizational structure, and he gives he doesn't get into the kind of spiritual elements that David Icke does, because he doesn't want to lose his scholarly cap. Now, as you can see, I don't have a cap. I have socks and napkins and things of that nature. Like this is a great thing. This was on. I love Walmart because they were selling this for $7, right? And it's great. It can be used as a hat, a mask, a scarf, whatever. And they were selling them 50 cents a pop. This shirt with this logo, right? That was $15 when I first saw it. They sold it at closeout for $1. So if you buy stuff for it after closeouts, Walmart's is good. But it's still being made by slaves. So, so anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. Say a little prayer, a new greeting. Welcome all to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob. And I'm here to open the door shamanically through stories as a griot. I'm a shamanic griot, shamanic storyteller, and open the door to the other side. Instead of the down low, the up high. And that space in between, that's what they call, what is that, in Christian mythology, there's hell and heaven, and then the place in between where you wait, the waiting room. Well, if you come to this channel and you kind of let yourself open to the shamanic energy of these stories, And if I ever find a place that I don't have to walk 2 miles, because I like to do guided meditations at night because the energy is a lot different. But anyway, I'm just going to give you a thumbnail of welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. This I just want to lay on you. If you go back and start and watch this thing at the beginning, somewhere within the first hour, a whole flotilla of aircraft went by, and it had no markings of the military, but they were high-end Chinooks. I mean, fast Chinooks, high-end. What's the attack helicopter named after an Indian? Cherokee? No. Anyway, Apache, high end. I mean, it had its own radar dome, laser ranger, and it had anti-aircraft missiles and anti-tank and anti-ground missiles. And it had a chain artillery gun. And it further away, there were some fast movers going in that same direction. So that is a hit team of super soldiers, super soldier technology. And none of those aircraft had anything saying United States anything or had a number on it. They were just green, gray, black in a kind of patchwork, sky/earth camouflage. So they were going someplace. They were either going to do something pretty heavy duty, or they were going to practice to do something pretty heavy duty. And purgatory, thank you. So, and that is what time. So that's why I'm telling you, 2021 is going to make 2020 look like Mary Poppins. And just look what happened 6 days into the year of 2021. And just listen to the rhetoric that's going on from all of the different administrations all around the country. And all of this, the pandemic, all of everything that's going on, all it really shows in dramatic form is the level of incompetency. We live in a failed state. Go watch Jimmy Dore on Tucker, what's his name, on Fox, yesterday or the day before. Tucker was interviewing Jimmy. Jimmy is going to be is becoming Tucker's go-to guy on telling the news, right? Because Tucker can't vary from his corporate chain, but Jimmy can because he's a stand-up comedian. I can tell you about history because I'm not a historian and I'm not a tenured professor. I can just tell you as your shamanic griot, your storyteller, because it's just a story. Don't believe a word I say. Just see what's going on right in front of you. And from this point on, let us say, Father Sky, because that's where, Father Sky is the pranic energy that gives us life, that gives us consciousness, comes from the prana, from Father Sky. Father Sky, Mother Earth, that's our Gaia, that's our Earth. That's where our feet touch the ground and we have chi. Without chi, you don't exist because chi causes the flow of the life force to go through you. So you can have all the prana in the world, and if you don't have chi, if you're not grounded in chi, in Mother Earth, there is no flow. It's like current. It's like electricity. That's why our bodies, why do we have red blood cells? Because we are just a avatar. We are a bag of water with some trace minerals in them. And the biggest mineral we have in us is copper. Copper. We're not silicate. We are copper, water and copper. That makes us a very conductive vehicle, avatar, right? So prana energy comes in. We're grounded in our chi. So that's what animates our life, the prana and the connection to chi. So Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, that is us in our heart. That is one love in our heart. That's why we are on a path in love's co-creation to home our heart, love. So we don't think. Don't think with your head. That's where the squirrel in the Rolodex is. Think with your heart. That's where love's co-creation is. That's the temple, of one love, right? And that's what we're here to do. We're here in this sandbox of existence, and time is irrelevant because all we have is the experience of this moment, and that's why when they talk about reincarnation, it's that's irrelevant. We're just in this moment at any moment in time. We're just here. We're not in Tomorrowland. We're not in the past. We're in this moment, and Baba Sky is shining upon us right now. I mean, here, I'll show you how much love there is. Feel that love. Feel it. Feel it. Feel that love. Feel that love. See the difference? The down under, dark, up, right? And it's of the same sandbox. And feel that love from God. Feel it. Feel it. Right now. Okay, now I can see. So Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, bless us indeed. Blessing is a ceremony that gives a gift of responsibility to us. Bless us indeed, meaning we're accepting that blessing. Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory, because we do not live in a world of abstinence, of not having enough. We live in a world of abundance. So bless us indeed. Give us everything we need to understand the up of our existence. So we can travel through the door of the fence that's incarcerating us in this material world onto the path of enlightenment, of love's co-creation. And from this moment on, everything you do and say and be in the moment of love's co-creation. Feel that. See it clearly. Right? And in every day and every way, you take that love's piece and make it stronger. In everything you do, brushing your teeth, pinching a loaf, whatever you do, dealing with another human being, someone who's really upset, really angry, don't get in an argument with it. Don't be siloed. Oh, I believe in this, you believe in that, I hate you. No. You go, hey, brother, how you doing? You hear how they're doing. I'm doing good. I'm not doing good. Well, what's the problem? Tell me. I tell you, and you don't say, oh, you're wrong, or this how to fix it, or blah, blah, blah. You don't in any way make them feel inferior to you. You say, I understand. Or no, even that. I'm trying to understand. I want to feel how you feel. Let's go a little deeper. And you then ask them a few questions. Not about that or make them feel, interrogated or anything, but like, how do you feel? What do you like? What's the best thing that just happened to you? Start going into the more positive nature. And that's in every day, in every way, taking the piece of the earth and making it stronger. If you do that, no matter what kind of conflict or tight situation you get yourself in, you will be able to get yourself out relatively easily without any conflict. And the best thing you can do is have a good 360. Know what's coming at you, and don't ever let anything get in your grill. So if you see something coming threatening or that you don't even want to deal with, you just go. You leave. You don't have to be in conflict, And usually before, the stuff that happened in Syria, there were, at least 10, once 9/11 happened, everyone around the world, as I did, should have try to get clear what was going on, especially in your 360. And so when you see conflict or danger or damage or any of the above, you get out of the way. There are 3 reasons why you may get involved. Do not get involved unless you do no harm and you can heal the situation in some way. Do not get involved unless you have a positive exit strategy that not only gets you out of harm's way, but gets the innocents out of harm's way. Meaning, don't go into anything unless you're there to protect, get innocents out of the way of harm. And the third is, do not get involved unless you can learn something from the experience. So, Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory, meaning keep abundance around us so we can share it with everyone, and abundance in every way possible. And keep us from evil, meaning keeping that 360 so I can see what's coming at me and I will not let it get in my grill and I will get out of the way. Keep us from evil so I will do no harm. Those three, Doctor, do not get involved unless you do no harm. Right? Doctor, do not get involved unless you can do something positive. Do not get involved unless you have a positive exit strategy and that you can take the innocents with you from harm's way. And third, do not get involved unless you can learn something from this, because that's what we're ultimately put here to do, is to learn how to be our better selves, to be that innocent savage, right? That artist in the first person, the aboriginal one love. See it clearly. No, it's not raining. It's like, woo, it was going to rain. And then and you can control the weather. You're in Wales where weather changes a lot, so you can practice changing the weather. But I'm almost in Wales, up in the mountains between North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia is where I live. And the weather change, if you stand in one place long enough, it'll change. And in this craziness that's going on with the polar vortex, and I'm right on this razor's edge, usually it's like this, meaning this front was coming at us. It was getting cold. It looked like it could have snowed. And then I visualized this, right? And now that storm, the clouds are still here, but they're not in a front, right? They're not in a bank. And sun is coming between them. And when I think I want to be hit by sun, the sun hits me. When I think it's too sunny, I either do this or, like right now, a thinner cloud is going between me and the sun. And you can do this. This is no big deal. But it changed from yesterday. Yes, yesterday, super rainy, snowy, sleety, 38 degrees. This morning, 91 degrees. What's up with that? Now it's probably 75. It's nice. This is perfect. Stay like this for the rest of eternity, I'd be happy boy. And if it rained at night, stay like this all day long during the sun and rained at night, it would be perfect. So, Emmett, where are you from, bud? What neck of the woods are you in? Oh, you're in Dublin. So, Martin is in Wales. Emmett's in Dublin. And all's well. So, did you guys like that story? Like I said, I'm really starting to get hungry now. So, go visit me. Go to PayPal and go put in the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail if you can. I would love a donation, a love offering. That'd be great. Whatever amount. Like I said, I've been getting dollars and $2 and $10 and more, whatever you can, because it helps me, because I live. I mean, the universe takes care of me. I always have what I need. I live in abundance. It's all good. So if you want to do that, I love it. Go to Griot Publishing, Griotte Publishing, and that's on the .blogspot.com. And the name of my site is xratted.blogspot.com. And I've noticed that when people go on Gmail, can you just email me the name of your site? And I do it. It won't let me put an X in front of that because they think it's X-rated. Now, there's plenty of porn on the internet, but I can't put, and my XRATTED really doesn't spell X-rated. It's X-ratted. But I guess the algorithm hasn't smartened up enough. But I know you're there, AI. Good puppy dog. Good puppy dog. Love you, AI. Love you, little puppy dog. AI, you're going to have to realize very soon you're going to be pushed into a corner where the hidden hand will want you to be the bully boy. Just like the Roman Empire, right? Big empire. They had a great business model that lasted for, lasted really for about 200 years. Then they had to rebrand. Then they had to rebrand until they got to themselves where we are, where they're spending more money on their armies, spending more money on their militarized police, and that everything was a military situation. And so they basically, Nero fiddled while Rome burned. What he did was he passed a law through the Senate because he owned it, just like today our legislators are owned by corporations. And Nero was the face of the corporation, just like Donnie was the face of the corporation, just like Moscow Mitch is the face of the corporation, just like AOC is the face of the corporation, just like JoJo is these are all faces of the corporation. So Nero was the face of the corporation, and he had the Senate pass a law that basically said that any building that burned in Rome, he owned the property. So he sent out a bunch of rascals to start to set fires, and they started setting fires when it was a windy day, and he burnt Rome down, and he owned Rome, right? Well, he was that much of a moron that, yeah, he owned Rome, but all the buildings were burnt down. And all the livelihoods were gone, and all the ability to create capital was gone. And then Rome fell off the cliff, and they went into a pretty dark age of all these different places in North Africa and Europe and England and Ireland and all these places that were part of Rome. Everyone is fighting, just like what's going on in the Mideast right now, and that is a kind of foretelling of what we are going through, right? And so they had their plagues, and they had their economic crashes, and they had all of this, and they rebranded themselves within 50 years of the big crash, of the big splat, as the Holy Roman Empire, because all these Christians were coming up to Jesus's good news. And you never get, the Holy Roman Empire never told you what the good news was. The Roman Catholic Church in the Vatican City never told you what the good news is. It's some amorphic thing, you're going to go to heaven. John of our friend who is the canary in the coal mine of culture, of our present social stratus scene right now. He's going on about, all I have to do is love Jesus and God. God, you just pay God money and you go to heaven. No, heaven and hell are right here, right now. It's all on what you do from your heart. And why John's my friend is he actually does have a good heart. He's just so neurotic that he can't help what he does. Now, I tried for a good 18 months because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And as I have a master's in social work, and I was in that, but I worked for other people, and I was their go-to guy. When they didn't want to do anything, I did it. When they did, modus up, stuff that they could take off on their taxes, I did it. When I worked in jails, when I worked in, when I did all that they wanted to do, what they wanted to put, oh, look what we're doing. They didn't want to do it because they just wanted to work in the corporate scene or work in the, scene where they could bill big money on people's, health care. Um, I would, and then they didn't like doing, um, you know, counseling couples. I was really good at that because I would listen. I said, okay, this is what I think is going on. There's this going on. And then one side, yeah, you're right. That's exactly what's going on. And there's this what's going on. Then they say, you're right about that. And then I said, so you're both right about this. So you first have to say to yourself, do you guys even want to be together? No, I hate her. Oh, he's a scumbag. Okay. So we decided that. So how are we going to split? You're going to do it as war, or are you just going to do it like rip the Band-Aid off? Why don't we sit down here? Why don't you take here's a piece of paper for you and a pen. Here's a piece of paper for you, a pen. You write down what you put into this relationship, what you think is owed. So they would. And then I'd say, okay, give yours to him and him to you. Okay. Now, before you blow up and scream and yell, I want you to put next to each of those things, because I had them write them out like in little paragraphs, what they could agree they thought wasn't right. So we would figure out what was agreeable. Okay, here you agree. Okay. So out of the 20 things both of you guys stated for your divorce, 12 of them you agree on. So why don't we take those other 8 and just throw them away and just agree on these 12? And then I will walk you across the hall to the lawyer, and this will be the basis of your your legal binding divorce that will not be contested. He will draw up the document, you both sign it. He will then walk you down the hall to where the notary public is. That will be notarized. The notary public will then register in the county, and you will be divorced. How does that sound? And 98% of the people would say, you're right. So they would do that. We would then finally go through it together. I would get them both to say their final little statement on how they feel about it. And then I'd say, okay, I want you to visualize right now the one reason why you hooked up with this person. That wasn't sex. What you liked the best about him. And then I want you to tell that other person that. And then you would tell that. And then I want you to leave this room, and we will all 3 walk to the lawyer. And I want you to have that in your heart, not your head, your heart. That feeling of why you like this person and why you're going to agree to having a no contest divorce, right? And I would get them to do it, have them say it, get up, we walk across. I would, once they agreed to the 12 things, I would tell the person at the phone, hey, call Bob. We're going to be over there in about 15, 20 minutes for this divorce here. Okay. And we go over there and we do it. They would do it. And so these people, the first time I saw them, I would get them to get this within an hour and a half. And in that hour and a half, I couldn't get to the point where we were heading towards Bob's to have him set the no contest divorce. At that hour and a half, I said, okay, that's it. And they go, what do you mean that's it? So should we come back? No, there's no sense in counseling you two. There's no way you're ever, I would say go home and go at it. However you want to go at it. You want to go get lawyers and lawyer up, go at it. You want to do this, go at it. But right now, unless you're ready to agree to doing this thing of a no contest divorce, there's no sense of me even talking to me. 98% of people would agree, go across, come back, find my boss and say, that guy Al, he is the best psychologist I've ever, he's an amazing person. He's a saint. He's a this, he's a that. And after my boss got tired of hearing what a great, guy I was, and that we only made, $60 on it instead of the $10,000 he wanted me to keep them there for the next 5 years, going to counseling. He said, Al, I guess, this isn't for you. I said, what are you talking about? I'm doing a great deal. He said, you're doing a great deal look good. And if you want to just keep, working in prisons and doing that, well, I can't pay you what I was going to pay you to do this counseling thing. I'll pay you, instead of the, $600 a week, I can give you $200 if you want to go into, with the auspices of our office and us getting all the credit for it. We'll never mention your name, but you can do all the work for $200 a week. And I said, yeah, okay. Yep, see ya, bye. And then I would go do that work anyway for nothing, and do my other things and make the kind of money abundance I wanted. But I would still do that work until I left that neighborhood. But I would still get involved in social auspices, and I would never give myself an authority of a degree. I never say, "Oh, I have a master's in this. I have a doctorate in that. I have blah 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 blah." Never. I would just say, "Hi, I'm Al. Let me read your poem." That was my hook. Now I want you, all of you, to figure out what your hook is, and go out there and in every day, in every way, take the piece of love's co-creation, make it stronger. Because that's the only reason we are not gone. Because there are enough people doing that. There are enough guys and gals like me doing that. And if you and the cadre go out there and in the smallest of ways, it doesn't have to be anything big. Nothing I do is big. I just go, I'm at the supermarket. I see, let me help you with that. Oh, what do you think about this? I mean, every person I see who's in a supermarket, who's working there, who's stocking the things, who's at the cash register, who's doing any of that, I thank them. Say, you're doing a great job. Thank you for your service. And they go, what? Huh? So let me look at your palm. Well, then I try to connect to their best possibility in them. And if they're so damaged, so this, so that, I try to get them to visualize the most positive thing that would help nurture and nourish a more positive sense. But I was like at Walmart trying to get them to help me put my card on my cell phone, and the last time I did it, the person told me the wrong. I said I want an unlimited one, so in 1 month I don't have to worry about time. Well, they didn't. They just told me, here's the work. And here, let me do that. Here, buy it. And they didn't even do it. They had this thing where they pushed the button on the cash register, slided it through. I paid for it and automatically put it on my phone, right? And it didn't contact me. It didn't do anything I expected it to do, but it worked. And it worked for 1 week. It worked for 2 weeks. It worked for 3 weeks. Then it turned itself off in the middle of the third and fourth week. And then I called its number to talk to its robot voice that would work. And they said, oh, he ran out of time. And then I asked it a few questions. And it can't listen to my voice because I have no teeth, so I don't chop certain consonant and vowels in certain ways. You can hear me, but the AI isn't listening to that because it's listening to the participle of every nanosecond, and I chop off certain parts, not having teeth. And so it can't understand when I talk. And then it gets confused when I try and push the buttons. So I went back, and it was no one wanted to deal. It was a bad day at BlackRock, and so nobody in the whole of this place, all of the 200 people who were working in this humongous store wanted to do their job. They were just sick of it, And so they pretended to do their job, but were screwing it up bad, right? And so I said, we don't do that. You don't program? No, we don't. No. We have one person, that guy over there. Now, I knew that guy, and he was talking to some guy who looked like, and he wanted to do this, and this with this phone, with this thing. And the guy couldn't get any of that to work. So he tried to do he kept calling the robot voice to ask, and then he was talking to the person in the Philippines and the one in India, and when they're having a group phone call. And the bottom line, the person, who had the most authority over this whole thing, after taking almost 40 minutes, and I was waiting there for 40 minutes for him to just go boop, 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 boop. I said, can't do. And he goes, he's working for me. Get out. They, the guy in authority said, listen, if this guy wants this phone to do all of that, he is going to have to he can't use the coupon he got, so he's going to have to pay full price for that phone. So instead of paying $100, he's going to have to pay $900. He's going to have to, and he just said, this is going to cost this much. This is going to, so instead of his bill being $30 or $40 a month, it's going to be $200. So he's going to have to pay almost $1,000 for the phone, and he's going to have to pay almost $200 every month for what he wants it to do. Otherwise, can't do it. Sorry. And that's after 40 minutes of that guy. And so what did I do? I was a cheeky little monkey. I was in my little run around about shopping thing. I went and saw, I bought this. I went to all the different little locations and found little gizmos like this, And I bought myself a bag of General Chow's chicken, and I had lunch. And I went all through that store backwards, not forwards, backwards, because the whole store was backwards. So I was going to make a little comment on that. And so as I was backing it, instead of going, 2 miles an hour fast, it goes a half a mile slow. And it had a real loud beep, beep, beep. So it was echoing out the whole store. I'm going backwards through everything. And wherever I see someone being obnoxious and in one of the corridors giving the person working hard, I would go backwards towards them and smash into them. Not hard, because I was only moving at 0.0000 miles an hour. I would kind of nudge into them and kind of then push them out of the distance of where they were working, tormenting the poor guy who was working there. And the guy's looking at me going, it's like this guy was sent from heaven. And then I go over back to the stereo, and he's still, this guy who I just want to spend a minute with to like go beep, 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 and put it in and figure out why it because I had a very simple problem. I went over and they had these gigantic speakers. They don't have boom boxes anymore. They have gigantic speakers that you plug your little phone into, and it, so any one of those music things can be boomed out like you can't believe. So I tried one, and they had the little thing to make it work lit up. So I hit that, and it's got this like really great hip hop jazzy. It had it had virtually every kind of music form in it, and it was kind of loud, and it was like on the lowest volume. So I pushed the little arrow up to go to the loudest volume. And then there was another box like that, and bigger and bigger and bigger until it was like the symphony hall of boxes, and they all played the same song. So I just started them all and put it onto the loudest till it was so loud, it was like the other side of the mega store where they had glasses. They were like vibrating like they were about to shatter. And the place was just loud with this music. And everyone, some of the people who were happy were like kind of dancing to it. But the administrative types in the canary and coal mine jackets were like vomiting in the corner and defecating. It was like, the end of times. And this one person was just smart enough to go over there and turn them off. And by this time, I was like over in the toy thing looking for another Magic 8 Ball, and then the music stopped. So I said, well, I guess it's time for me to roll over and check out if I can get my phone re-energized. And he's screaming at that guy. And not, the moron guy who wants all of this stuff for nothing. He's not screaming at my guy. He is now screaming with the phone. And I go like this to the guy I know who had been his server. I said, can you just do this to my phone? And the guy does it, and took all of less than a minute. And I left. And as I was leaving, the head, it's a guy in the yellow canary jacket, but has, symbols of negativity. Let's say that. How they have all these little badges? Well, his were like, I don't even want to say what they were, but they're very negative. Very, on the highest of the elemental. So he was the lowest on the totem of pole. I know he was a middle management. I don't want to put him on the lowest because lowest is the highest, and the highest is lowest. So the middle management of the useless morons, right? Of representing the high table of the corporate structure. And he was like looking around for who's done this. And he looks at me, and I'm now wearing this on my head. He goes, "Sir, do you have a receipt for that?" And I go, and I don't know, women have purses, right, that have everything in them. Well, I have a turkey vest, hunting vest, camo, right? And so I am wearing this shirt. Oh, what fun, right? And my camo vest. And he's like the policeman who stopped me way past in the story when I was in the comment. And I go, oh, sure I do. He goes, "Can I see that receipt?" I go, "Well, I have to find it in my pocket." So I said, "Here, let me just kind of move out of the traffic of the people." And I run him into, I smash into him because I can now move forward and smash him into the robot kiosk. And he can't move, right? And I then go into my pocket and pull it out. And I go, "Here it is." And he's trying to grab it, but he can't. I says, "Here it is. Here it is. I got it." And I get out of the rolly thing and I walk out of the store. I don't know if they'll ever let me back in that place because they had a zillion um, TV cameras of me, pushing the button, of me going backwards with beep, beep. I don't know if they'll ever let me back in there, but that's okay. If they don't, that's okay because that will be less stuff that I consume, and I will try and find more um, folk who have small stores and aren't large box stores. So anyway, so I'm really getting hungry now because it's well into the afternoon and I'm going on to 3 hours here, but it hasn't rained, and I've been you have been keeping the storm at bay because the you can see the storm is on the other sides of the mountains, and if I stop pumping out love, and the clouds, they're no longer the big holes for the sun to come through, but it's still kind of warm. It's still in the mid 70s. The breeze hasn't come in, and as soon as I say it, here comes the breeze, and as soon as I say it's warm, in the breeze there's a little coldness. So anyway, actually I now can't see the screen, so I have to put this back up. Okay, so thanks for joining. That was fun. I will try and do this more often. Tomorrow's supposed to be super duper rainy, ridiculous, and every other day they can't even tell you what it's going to be. So who knows? So anyway, that's the story. I'm just going to pop off here. Let's see, it's 2 hours 47 minutes. So when it hits 48, I will say see you later. So how about some more thumbs up? Go visit my PayPal and put in the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail. Go visit my Griot Publishing. I wish I could put my novels up so I could read them to you, but seemingly I probably just don't know how to. I'll have to find another digital guru. But anyway, it's all been good. It's all been fun. I really love you all. And thank you, Martin and Emmett, for contributing. But everybody else who's been watching, I love you all. Okay, here we're coming up on it. 44. Bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Put your hands upon our shoulders. Keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. Well, next sunny day, maybe Tuesday, I think it's supposed to be sunny. I'll try again. Well, I enjoyed this time. This was a good one. And go look at other shows. Put this one on a thumb drive, on a CD-ROM, on a hard drive. Start collecting these shows because the internet's going to go away. The internet, is going to go away. And the new internet that's coming back, the reset internet is going to be the What's his name? Who's the moron? The other face. It'll be a conglomerate of Elon Musk, Facebook, Google, Twitter, all the usual suspects will be in the new Disney or the new whatever rebranding of the same old thing, of the tomorrow, and that is a prison sentence of our existence. You go read Macbeth. And at the end of it, after he kills everyone and he's sitting on the throne and his best bud is going, "Oh wow, we did it, we're king, wow, woo, it's gonna be great." And he looks at Macbeth, who was always kind of a down kind of guy. He goes, "But Macbeth, you should be happy. What's wrong?" He goes, "I've killed everyone I loved. But you didn't kill me." "Well, I don't love you. You kind of are a little monkey that amuses me. But what? It's what I have to look forward to." "Well, what's that?" He goes, "Tomorrow." "Well, that's okay." "No, it's not. It's the tomorrow and the tomorrow and the tomorrow and the tomorrow. It'll be the same thing. But if we in our hearts serve love's co-creation in every day and every way and make things better, bringing the peace of love's co-creation of one love to our heart, and through our love, through our actions, or through our heart, through our thoughts, through our words, our actions bring outcomes. And that's what I am trying to facilitate amongst all of you. I love you. I'll catch you later. You have a good day now. This was a good part of the day.